Welcome to InFocus, a close look at human relations presented by the Cincinnati Human Relations Commission. Hi, I'm your host, Chris Stiles, and on today's show, we'll be taking a closer look at our sponsoring organization, Cincinnati Human Relations Commission. We'll be talking about some of their events and some other things on the agenda for this quarter. Right now, my guest is none other than Christina Brown. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome back to InFocus. You are more than welcome. So Christina, tell us your role with the CHRC.
I'm a liaison to concerned community members, and I serve on a variety of committees which deal with issues of discrimination and prejudice within the cities.
So how long have you been a part of it?
1.5 years now.
1.5 years.
Yes.
Great. So now that we're in 2014 and you got your feet wet with the organization and everything, tell me some of the things that have happened thus far this year.
So this year's been very interesting. We absorbed a lot of the work from the Martin Luther King Coalition. So we kicked off the year with a huge celebration down at Music Hall.
Yes,
so
we talked about that.
Yes, that was my primary blessing for the year. And in February, we sort of resumed our traditional work. So one of the things that I'm actively working on now is we're the recipient of the Ohio Commission on Fatherhood grant, and we're planning a 2014 Fatherhood Summit in partnership with Take Back Our Men, which is a program fostered through the Cincinnati Police Department. So we've also been working on developing that program, which will take place June 13th.
Okay.
And CAA has graciously, the Community Action Agency, I should say, has graciously agreed to host us. So we've been sort of planning a large event. We're hoping to have over 100 fathers come out for that and to discuss how agencies in the greater Cincinnati community can better serve fathers. So that's been one huge initiative. And we've also launched a couple of programs, including racial dialogues, as well as our Cincinnati Soup initiative.
Fabulous, fabulous.
Yes.
Cincinnati Soup. Do you give soup to everybody? I mean, is it an acronym for something? What is Cincinnati Soup?
So I made up this acronym in my head of what soup was. I'm not saying it's necessarily what soup is, but in my head, that's what it is.
All right.
So soup to me, it would be an acronym for supporting our unique projects. Soup was started in Detroit by a group of neighbors who were interested in addressing the needs of their community. So they asked, how can we use what we have to, create what we need? So they came together with a pot of soup and some salad. They picked a location and they said, hey, how about we give everyone in our neighborhood soup for $5? You get a bowl of soup with a salad. You meet your neighbor, and you'll also get to vote on a community project that would best benefit our block. So that evolved into a nationwide sort of replication of micro-funding projects. So Cincinnati Soup was launched in March to sort of emulate that. We hear a lot about people who want to start dance teams or people who just need to fund jerseys for existing sport teams but don't necessarily need nonprofits to do it. So Soup sort of gives you a forum to provide basic funding needs for small projects, but to also engage with your neighbors. So that's kind of how it manifested here in Cincinnati.
That sounds wonderful. So we've had one already.
Right.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. And
so the first one took place in March, and the next one will take place in May. We're hoping to do it bi-monthly and to take it to a different community every time.
Fabulous.
So people can engage with the people who live around them, as well as to support some of the smaller businesses that exist within those communities that also help make the event possible.
Where was the last soup held?
So the first soup was held in Walnut Hills, and the May soup will be hosted in Northside. We're currently working with the community to identify what location would be best, but tentatively we've identified May 15th as the date. So save the date.
All right, save the date. That sounds good. What kind of soup we're gonna have?
It really depends. So that's the other unique part about soup. So you pay $5 to attend and to vote, or you bring a potluck dish and you get a vote. So the goal,
it's evolved from soup. It's like whatever somebody brings. Then.
Right. So the goal is to sort of have people bring what they can give. Right. So we had someone call last time and said, "Hey, I cannot pay, but I I can make a casserole. We're like, we love casserole. Sure,
Okay.
come. So we don't really want to exclude anyone
Right.
on the basis of what they can or cannot pay.
How was the
But
turnout for the last one?
we had about 40 to 50 people attend. It was pretty good. Al Sharpton was in town the same night.
Okay.
So we were like,
competing with Al
right,
Sharpton.
like, he's a national talk show host and a civil rights leader. So we were extremely happy that people came out, and the reception that people had as a result of like understanding what their power was as a community. Elevate Walnut Hills, which was a initiative started by some neighbors in Walnut Hills to address the concerns of residents who are sort of interested in meeting the needs of the people who have lived in Walnut Hills with the redevelopment that's going on in Walnut Hills. So they asked for funding to support volunteer t-shirts, and they received funding for that. So, just small things to support, the hard work that people are doing in our neighborhoods.
Now, I have to admit, one of the things that you were telling us about that was going on with the CHRC is the fatherhood. And I can't remember the name of it, but the Fatherhood Initiative or something like that. That stood out to me because I have to admit, I've had more men say to me that there's not enough support for fathers, that the system doesn't really want to work with men. And so now you have something that can assist them. How long has that been effective?
So that's interesting. That's exactly why it was started. So in 2010, I believe, the former executive director of the agency applied for a grant from the Ohio Commission on Fatherhood. And for whatever reason, until 2012, it wasn't actually dispersed. So Dr. Erica King Betts, with her leadership, she sort of absorbed the qualifications of the grant. And we assembled all of these practitioners around better serving fathers. The Ohio Commission on Fatherhood has a father friendliness survey that they issue to different agencies. So if there's a pregnancy program, where are the fathers included in that? Or if how are our child support enforcement officers enforcing child support, or what does that look like for men? Like, what sort of support systems do they have? And historically, the agency has served as an advocate for people who are underrepresented or often marginalized. So that was sort of the gap that we wanted to fill. So last summer, we fulfilled all the needs to receive the grant, and we started assembling on a monthly basis around 15 to 20 fatherhood practitioners, and now it has evolved into an actual coalition that we call the Fatherhood Collaborative of Hamilton County. So we have representation from places as ordinary as the Talbert House, who people think of as traditional fatherhood practitioners, to 4C for Children, who provide childcare. And the person that serves on the committee did say, like, we do in-home visits where we talk to the mom, but their father is not included in that conversation. So now we're trying to sort of assess where we're at and then find solutions to meeting the needs of fathers in the community. So it's been about a year now.
I'm guessing there's information on the website?
Yes.
And what is our website for the CHRC?
It is www.chrc.us.
Wonderful.
You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at CHRC.
Boy, you guys have everything. Facebook, Twitter.
We're trying to be like y'all.
Got to keep up with what's happening in our community.
Yes.
So now that you've been involved in the CHRC for a year and a half now, have you seen any major changes?
Oh, for sure. There's definitely been an increased visibility amongst the community. What I found when I first arrived at the agency was that we have like a historical standing for a lot of people who lived in Cincinnati for a while. But the new generation of transplants, or just people who are millennials in particular, they weren't really aware of what the agency historically has done and what it's currently doing. So I've seen that visibility increase. Of course, there's room for improvement, and we're still working to design programs and initiatives that meet the need of the next generation of citizens. But between that, working on unique issues such as fatherhood, or partnering with different community agencies or community organizations such as the French Alliance, or just new immigrants. I think we've come a long way, and we're still trekking, but I've definitely seen some improvement.
Great. So you were speaking about how people who implants, so to speak, weren't aware of the CHRC or what it had to offer. I mean, can you go over a brief list of the sort of things that we may be missing out of? I mean, in the community, I live here, been living here, but I don't know what it is that I need to contact the CHRC about, or what services you all can provide to help me make a better life for myself and my family here in Cincinnati.
So when CHRC was started in 1943, it was essentially to address the needs of racial minorities and religious minorities. The mayor at that time was experiencing a lot of tension, visible tension in the city, and he started a committee of individuals from various backgrounds to address the needs of those sort of conflicting populations. So that's how it started. Now that we've evolved into a more inclusive society, we kind of play a new role as opposed to sort of like policing issues of discrimination and prejudice. We want to serve as a connector for communities. So I've received phone calls about people who have experienced different immigration patterns within their neighborhoods, and there is sort of this natural tension when there are different cultures that have never been introduced to each other. So they'll call and say, what can we do to bring these people together? That's what we want to do. We want to serve as a mediator for individuals who are experiencing this difficulty that comes with change. How can we bring people together around common shared issues? If we can provide programming or mediation or just a listening ear, that's what we're here to do. So to convene.
And that brings me to something. I know that CHRC has some cultural tasting.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So that kind of sort of speaks to what I just discussed.
Right.
So the cultural tasting was actually an idea sparked by my colleague last year. And it came from, we hosted a delegation through the World Affairs Council. And one thing that we notice is, when we bring different people into the country and we have conversations with them, one of the most common factors that we don't think about as people is that food is a very uniting
great connector.
Yeah, exactly. So we did some research on the organizations that the World Affairs Councils fosters, and we said, why don't we bring these people together on a larger scale to sort of exchange their food customs, but to also use that as an opportunity to discuss, how that manifests in Cincinnati and how we can create a more inclusive community. So last year was the first event. We had 5 different organizations last year. And this year we got a little nervous. We were 2 weeks out and we had 5, I think. And then we had this influx. We ended up with 11 different organizations that took place here in City Hall. We specifically started it in City Hall to meet our City Hall neighbors. And it was excellent. We've actually had a request to make it bigger and to take it outside of City Hall. And we had organizations such as the French Alliance. We had the Asian Community Alliance, excuse me. So, I mean,
wonderful.
We had a diverse representation, and it was really exciting.
Looking forward to the 3rd annual. Now, as we close, there's a big summer fundraiser happening.
Right.
There's a big dinner, and what is the date for the big dinner for the CHRC?
The big dinner is June 5th. The keynote speaker will be Dr. Tanya Matthews, and if you want to register or sponsor, you can go back to our website at www.chrc.us.
All right, that's www.chrc.us. Thank you so much for joining me for the first half of InFocus. Here is Christina Brown, and any more information that you may need, log onto the website and stay with us because we have some youth that have been affected by the CHRC. Welcome back to InFocus, where today we're focusing on our sponsoring agency, the Cincinnati Human Relations Commission. Now we're going to take a different view. Today we're going to speak with some guests from Aiken High School and talk about how the CHRC has partnered with them for a youth program. So our guests are Miss Isis Williams, hello,
Hi.
and Miss Sandy Horine, hi. She is a counselor. You're a counselor.
School counselor.
You can tell by the youth of Isis that she is a student at Aiken High School. Thank you for joining us on InFocus. All right, so let's jump right into it. What is going on with Aiken High School and the CHRC?
Well, we partnered up with the youth coordinator, Miss Jamie Bryant, and we put together our Increase the Peace Week. And we basically talked about how to increase the peace and decrease the violence that is going on in our neighborhoods and in our schools. A few students I know have had a death within their friends or family due to gang violence or gun violence. I actually had a friend when I was about 13 who was killed right after Christmas, our 8th grade year. It was really sad when we all came back and we realized he wasn't there.
That's awesome. That's awful is what I meant to say. When I think about Aiken, I know years ago they didn't have like the greatest reputation, but now you all have gone through a lot of change, including your buildings, so I hear. And how has eliminating most of those buildings affected the students where they all have to be in the same place at the same time? Have they come together and united more? Is it a more user-friendly environment?
I would say that it has made 100% difference. The past 2 years, we were in swing space at High Knoll, and that was over by the Fay Apartments in that neighborhood, and that was it was rough being over there. Now that we're in this beautiful new building with really nice resources, I feel like it's really given the kids more self-confidence that we're proud of our school and we want to keep it nice and we want to act in a way that is respectful to the school because they're very appreciative. We're all very appreciative of our building.
I've noticed most of the schools are changing in their building, and it's just to build up the self-esteem and
security. The security is so much. I mean, there's the other building had no security as there were too many entrances and things like that. So now it's also a safe place that the students can know they're safe because you have to be buzzed into the different places. So there's a lot of real benefits.
All right. Isis, so now that you all are working with the CHRC, have you seen a difference among your classmates?
Yes. We've all decided, or sort of a silent decision to be more friendly toward one another, and we act as a group more than individuals now. We all still have our individuality, but we can come together and stand together at this one issue because we've all experienced some sort of pain or something because of gun violence.
Speaking of gun violence, when is Gun Violence Week?
Actually, we had it. It was February 11th through the 14th.
Is that national or is that just with Aiken?
It was just Aiken.
Okay. Okay.
And we are doing some more follow-up action to help to make it sink in more with our students.
Are the students themselves providing suggestions, or is it trickling down from I want to say upper management, but from like the teachers and things like that? Is it trickling down to the students? Or are the students actually coming up with ideas for peace and to eliminate the violence?
I think in some ways it was a difficult topic. I think we didn't realize how complicated the topic was, and so I think that there's a lot of pain involved in that, and there's a lot of afraid to talk because maybe students know things about some of the different things in the neighborhoods that's going on. So I think it was a more complicated issue than I think we realized when we were doing this. The week was still very important. It got things started. And I'll let you talk a little bit from a student perspective, but just from an adult in the building's perspective, I think we realized that we were just scratching the surface and how much more needed to be done. And a lot of what we hope to accomplish is to maybe bring a group in to really work with our, especially our 7th and 8th graders that are at risk for possibly choosing to belong in some risky behavior. Because if you notice, this year we had 5 or 6 14-year-olds in the city that were shot. 14. Yeah. That's like 8th grade, 9th grade. Those are babies, you know? Yeah. So really trying to reach kids when they're young and really doing some more targeted intervention is kind of what we're looking at. Now, from the student perspective, how did you feel about getting the conversation started?
I think getting the conversation started actually helped us all come together more. We realized that we weren't alone in what we were feeling. So actually being able to talk about it and understand that I wasn't the only one who felt like that when my friend died. it helped me to be more open about the fact that I don't believe that violence is okay.
Now, is that opening the door to other possible violent situations, not necessarily just gun violence, but when you think about domestic violence and sexual abuse and things like that, is Aiken planning on having a possible week for all of those issues, or does that come up when you guys are discussing the gun violence and other things that happen?
I haven't been in a discussion where we've talked about it, but it has been on my mind a lot. Like, gun violence isn't the only kind of violence that we have in America. So with us being, kids, we haven't really gone into the domesticality of everything, but we do, a lot of us have plans to go into that. So maybe having a week where we talk about the signs of a domestically violent situation and how to get out of it maybe would benefit a lot of us.
Yeah, abusive relationships. I think that would be real good. Education on abusive relationships.
Wonderful. So are you planning on having weeks for different?
We're in the process of, she is our president of our leadership club, which does service projects and also this type of thing. And so we're in the process of planning our calendar for next year. And so I think this was just a springboard. Our Increase the Peace Week was just a springboard. And the next year, we're going to be looking at how that could be extended. And probably that is one of the issues. I know it's just not with girls, but there's a lot of girls that have experienced, maybe some violence in partner relationships, and so
it's not just girls.
Yeah, it isn't, right.
The toughest part of that is going to be getting the boys to actually talk about it and fess up about it.
Right.
So have you noticed that any other schools have maybe jumped on board with the anti-gun or the gun violence week or the peace week?
Not that I know. I think Withrow did something last year. I know there was another school that did some kind of rally with Miss Bryant. This year, some of these shootings have just been really fresh, and I think we're still kind of, we had the little 14-year-old that was killed in Clifton and right around Withrow, and then a week later, a little girl from Withrow was also killed, and I think a lot of us are just still dealing with the grief so close.
Trying to accept that. It is very difficult, and I heard it later there with the little boy down by, he was just observing a fight and ended up.
Just to stand, he was just happened to be there, wrong place, wrong time,
So Isis, what do you think one of the key things that we can do to avoid that type of violence? When you all are discussing it, what do you say, just walk away? If you see something, what do you all say?
I mean, in the case of a fight, obviously you wouldn't want to stand around because of the things that have happened, like Derek Turnbow so many years ago.
What you know about that?
You were still a baby. I wasn't even born yet. I've heard a lot about Derek Turnbow. But obviously we've learned that standing around when a fight is happening isn't the smartest thing to do. But we also don't want to, maybe our friend Pookie is in a fight. We don't want Pookie to get hurt. So we so we make sure that our friend's okay. But there are also other steps that we could take to maybe make sure that the fight doesn't happen in the first place. Or if the fight actually does start to happen, make sure that somebody is going to get an adult or, not encouraging or instigating a fight.
Perfect. And you said that you've noticed a difference among the students now that you all have this peace program in place. What is it that you're hoping to see as an administrator?
I think being able to really open the conversation and really have conversations about this. I think when I keep asking, anybody that's been involved in like SERVE or any of these organizations, what is the best thing that we can do? What is the most effective thing that we can do as a school and as a student? And I hear over and over positive activities for the students to participate in, because a lot of the younger students are being kind of recruited because they're bored and, that kind of stuff. And so really trying to have activities, really trying to reach out to kids that might be at risk and trying to come up with other activities that might interest them. Sports maybe works for some kids and that's great, but what other kinds of clubs, what other kinds of activities, what kind of after school things can we be doing so that these students have something positive that they're involved with, and that's what we're really trying to focus on.
I notice as a parent, as my children were growing up, and I do have a teenage son now, and I'm just like, what is he going to do over the summer? And I don't want him to, you know, just be outside and whatever. And so, of course, as parents and in the household, we're trying to find positive places to send our children. And I think that it's great during the school year that you all will be implementing that and finding other programs for the children to partake in to keep them away from things unknown and dangerous, things like
that. They just don't need
that.
to be hanging out in places they don't need to be hanging out. We are
Right.
partnering with Cincinnati Recreation Center
my
with
next question.
yeah.
So who else are you partnering
Okay.
with?
We're partnering with them to do a summer camp this year for 7th, 8th, it might be 9th grade too, but at least 7th and 8th grade for like 6 weeks, that we'll be having all kinds of activities, anything from some things that are educational, like maybe we'll go do a dig by the river and, you know, be looking for dinosaur bones or, you know, things like that, to maybe going swimming, to going, so every day there's going to be activities from like 9 to 3, so to
Now, is
keep
that
the
gonna be
kids
free,
busy.
or is that going to be income
It's
based,
free.
or-
It's free.
Woo,
We're
okay.
writing a grant. Well, hopefully it will be free. We're writing a grant with Cincinnati. The College Hill Cincinnati Recreation Center is helping us to write a grant, so we're hoping to have it paid for.
Now, is that only going to be in that area? You said College Hill, so is it only
It'll
going to
be
be for the people that's like the students
Probably
in the
the
surrounding
students
area?
in
Okay.
College Hill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other organizations?
We partner with Jamie Bryan and the Cincinnati
Right.
CHRC.
CHRC?
Yes, yes.
Would you call
and
it
then
CHR?
CHR, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think that's, and also partner with the Cincinnati Recreation Commission. GE has been I know that's an industry, but they have been an amazing partner with us. And also the College Hill. There's a council in College Hill that also partners with us.
Wonderful.
And so, yeah.
Okay. Isis, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I know from personal experience that during the summer it's kind of boring to sit out,
Yes.
you know, just to sit around. So what I did, I took initiative and I volunteered, and I actually volunteered at the Cincinnati Recreation Commission for a couple years at Westwood Town Hall, favorite one, and I did a couple weeks at a couple churches, and I really think the kids should do more volunteer work.
Yes, they
Adults
should.
really like it when you do that.
Okay, so in summary of everything that's happening, next year you're planning your gun violence week.
Exactly.
Okay, so what is the name of that? I keep saying, Anti-Gun Violence Week. Okay, so do we have a potential date for that?
Not yet at this point. We're just
Okay.
in the process of putting things on the calendar. Probably
Okay.
fall.
Okay, and does Aiken have a website that they can get
We're
more
developing.
information?
We're
Okay,
developing.
all right. Or you can just
Yes.
call the office.
We do have a
Yes.
Twitter
Okay, what's your
Yeah.
what's your Twitter address?
at Aiken New Tech.
That's what's up. All right. I'd like to thank you so much for coming out. It's so good to see young people being a part of something positive and influencing your fellow students. I really appreciate that. I look forward to seeing you again here on InFocus. Thank you so much, Sandy, for joining us. And thank you for joining us for another edition of InFocus, presented by the Cincinnati Human Relations Commission. See you next time. Bye.